So this is a book about a crime-solving octopus. Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. So it was my birthday last week. And sad news is that means I'm no longer 22 Taylor's version and instead I am still 23 living in my fantasy. And as a wise band once said, nobody likes you when you're 23, so that sucks. However, good news is that I had an excuse to go out and treat myself to some books.
Treat yourself.
So I've bought a few books in the last couple of weeks and I thought it would be super fun to come on here and give you a little bit of a book haul and talk you through the books that I got. So the first thing I got was something I pre-ordered in like May or something, but it arrived just before my birthday, so I'm still gonna count it, and that is Girl, Goddess, Queen by B. Fitzgerald. And firstly, can we just appreciate how stunning this book cover is? Like, it's shiny, it's got like a silver border around the edge, it's got these beautiful bright pink sprayed edges. This really is the season of the bright pink, what with Barbie coming out and everything. And also, once you take the dust jacket off, you are left with not a plain black cover, but this kind of map of where the story takes place. You've got this map of Sicily in the middle, and then on either cover you've got Hades and Mount Olympus. This isn't sponsored in any way, by the way. I just really appreciate a cool cover, and also when book designing people don't just like slap a plain black cover onto a hardcover and like they put something really interesting on it. So as you might be able to tell, this is a retelling of Hades and Persephone. Thousands of years ago, the gods told a lie. Persephone wasn't taken to hell, she jumped. There was no way she was going to be quietly married off to some smug god. Now she's taking matters into her own hands with plans that will shake Mount Olympus to its very core. So it sounds to me like this is going to be an adaptation that's going to give Persephone a lot more agency. It's going to take out some of the assault and incesty aspects of the original myth, which I'm definitely here for. But overall, I'm very excited to get stuck into this book. So the next few books I bought about a week before my birthday, and I visited this really lovely bookstore in London called South Ken Books. It's in South Kensington, just around the corner from the tube station, and it's tiny, it's a little independent bookshop, and they do deals on books so that you can get them for like half price or like less than half price sometimes. So the first book that I got was The Amber Fury by Natalie Haynes, and I love Natalie Haynes. I've read everything that she's put out so far apart from this book. This is her debut novel and it's kind of flown under the radar compared to her other books because this isn't a mythological retelling. So the blurb says, when you open up, who will you let in? Alex Morris has lost everything, her relationship, her career and her faith in the future. Moving to Edinburgh to escape her demons, Alex takes a job teaching at a pupil referral unit. It's a place for kids whose behaviour is so extreme that they cannot be taught in a normal classroom. Alex is fragile with grief and way out of her depth. Her fourth-year students are troubled and violent. In desperation to reach them, Alex turns to the story she knows best. Greek tragedy isn't the most obvious way to win over such damaged children, yet these tales of fate, family and vengeance speak directly to them. Enthralled by the bloodthirsty justice of the ancient world, the teenagers begin to weave the threads of their own tragedy, one that Alex watches helpless to prevent. So this sounds like a kind of dark academia-esque secret history meets Lord of the Flies, and I've loved everything that Natalie Haynes has put out, and so I'm really excited to read this book. The next book that I got was Parable of a Sower by Octavia E. Butler, and it's a classic. I've been meaning to read it for a long time now, and now that I have the physical copy, I literally have no excuse. So, we are coming apart, we're a rope breaking a single strand at a time. America is a place of chaos, where violence rules and only the rich and powerful are safe. Lauren Olamina, a young woman with the extraordinary power to feel the pain of others as her own, records everything she sees of this broken world in her journal. Then, one terrible night, everything alters beyond recognition, and Lauren must make her voice heard for the sake of those she loves. Soon, her vision becomes reality, and her dreams of a better way to live gain the power to change humanity forever. All that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. So it's kind of a science fiction-y, speculative fiction-y book, and I love science fiction, I love speculative fiction, so I'm gonna say I'm really excited to read this book about like every book that I've bought. So yeah, I'm gonna need to think of some other ways to say that. But yeah, I am excited to read this book. The last book that I got from South Kent Books was Browse, Love Letters to Bookshops Around the World. And this is a series of essays written by lots of different authors about their favourite bookshops. And I personally am a bookshop enthusiast. Like, I could easily spend like an hour in a bookshop, not even like to buy anything, just to wander around. So I think I'm really going to enjoy this book. A cabinet of curiosities, a time machine, a treasure trove. We love bookshops because they possess a unique kind of magic. In Browse, Henry Hitchings asks 15 writers from around the world to consider bookshops that have shaped them. Each conjures a specific time and place. Ali Smith chronicles secrets and personal stories hidden within the pages of secondhand books. Alaa al-Aswani tells of the Cairo bookshop where revolutionaries gathered during the 2011 uprisings. Elif Shafak evokes the bookstores of Istanbul, their chaos and diversity, their aroma of tobacco and coffee. Yvonne Adhiambo Awor recalls the quandary of being asked to choose just one book at a favourite childhood store in Nairobi, while Ian Sinclair shares his grief on witnessing a beloved old haunt close down. Others explore bookshops they have stumbled upon, adored, and become addicted to from London to Bogota. I've wanted to read more like non-fiction and essay-style books, so this is definitely one that goes on that list. And then I bought 2 other books later that day from a Waterstones in Holborn, so let's talk about them. This is Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. After Tova Sullivan's husband died, she began working the night cleaner shift at the Sewell Bay Aquarium. Keeping busy has helped her cope for over 30 years, ever since her son, Eric, mysteriously vanished on a boat. One night, she meets Marcellus, a giant Pacific octopus living at the aquarium who sees everything, but wouldn't dream of lifting one of his 8 arms for his human captors, until he forms a remarkable friendship with Tova. Ever the detective, Marcellus deduces what happened the night Tova's son disappeared, and now he must use every trick his old body can muster to unearth the truth for her before it's too late. So this is a book about a crime-solving octopus. So yeah, again, I'm very excited to read it. I love stories that have like kind of wacky premises, so yeah, I think I'm gonna love this one. And the other book I got was Girl Crush by Florence Given. Meet Eartha. It's 2030 and she has just started her life afresh as an openly bisexual woman, whilst also becoming a viral sensation on Wonderland, a social media app which most of the human race is plugged into. But Eartha's new existence begins to spiral dangerously out of control as her online and offline selves grow further and further apart, until she is forced to make a choice. Which version of herself should she kill off? Can one Eartha stay alive without the other? I think books that talk about social media and the internet and have that as like a very prominent theme are really interesting. It's a very relevant topic today. So I am looking forward to reading Girl Crush. And then the day before my birthday, my family and I went up to London again, and we had a little wander around Waterstones Piccadilly, which is a massive bookshop in London over like 5 floors or something. I tried to grab as much footage of the store that I could, but honestly, I was quite busy running around trying to find the books that I had on my wish list. I did, fortunately, find most of them, and so let's go through them. So first up we have Wicked Beauty by Katie Robert. This was actually the hardest book to find. I looked through the general fiction, I looked through the science fiction and fantasy section. I ended up talking to my parents about how I couldn't find the book. There were so many copies of Electric Idol, but no copies of this. And my dad ended up being like, oh, I'll just ask them at the front desk. And so he walked off, and as he was in the queue, I thought, he really does not know that he's going to ask about an erotic fiction book. We did eventually find it in the romance section with like 3 other copies, so I think I was just being a bit silly and forgetting that the romance section existed, but we got it, so all is good. This is the 3rd book in the Dark Olympus series. It focuses on Achilles, Patroclus, and Helen. I've really enjoyed the Dark Olympus series, and not for the reasons that you might think. I actually read it for the world building. I think the world building is really interesting, and like the political intrigue and all of that stuff. When I say I read Dark Olympus for the plot, I read Dark Olympus for the plot. In Olympus, you either have the power to rule or you are ruled. Achilles Callus may have been born with nothing, but as a child he vowed he would claw his way into the poisonous city's inner circle. Now that a covered role has opened to anyone with the strength to claim it, he and his partner, Patroclus Photos, plan to compete and double their odds of winning. Neither expect infamous beauty Helen Casios to be part of the prize, or the complicated fire that burns the moment she looks their way. Zeus may have decided Helen is his to give away, but she has her own plans. She enters the competition as a middle finger to the meddling 13 rulers, effectively vying for her own hand in marriage. Unfortunately, there are those who would rather see her dead than leading the city. The only people she can trust are the ones she can't keep her hands off of, Achilles and Patroclus. But can she really believe they have her best interests at heart when every stolen kiss is a battlefield? I'm a little bit of a Song of Achilles fan, so I'm pretty excited that Achilles and Patroclus are going to get introduced in this book. And I've also loved Helen's appearances in Electric Idol, and overall she is one of my favourite characters in Greek mythology. I think she's really interesting and low-key misunderstood, so I'm pretty excited that she's also going to get focused on in this book. And overall, yeah, pretty excited to get stuck into it. Next up we have yet another mythological book, and this one is Threads That Bind by Kika Hatzopoulou. In the city of Elante, the descendants of the Greek gods live alongside mortals. Io is descended from the Fates. She can see threads, shimmering lines connecting people. When a relationship is formed, a new thread appears. When a person's life thread is cut, it's their time to die. One night, Io is witness to a violent, mysterious murder, along with Ede, a member of the dangerous mob who rule Elante. And what Io can see immediately, although Ede cannot, is that there is a bright silver fate thread connecting them. This boy is her destiny. Io and Ede are thrown together to solve the case, and as Io grapples with the secrets lurking beneath Elante's surface, she must decide whether to embrace her fate and give in to her growing desire for Ede, or whether to cut the thread and set him free. It sounds to me a little bit like Lore by Alexandra Bracken, which I really enjoyed, so again, I think I'm going to love this book. And again, look at the sprayed edges. So moving from mythology to ancient history, we have another series continuation, and this is The House with the Golden Door by Elodie Harper. This is the sequel to The Wolf Den, which I read back in May for my mythology/ancient history series, and I loved it. It was one of my favourite books that month. Amara has escaped her life as a slave in Pompeii's most notorious brothel. She now has a house, fine clothes, servants, but all are gifts from her patron, hers for as long as she keeps her place in his affections. As she adjusts to this new life, Amara is still haunted by her past. At night she dreams of the wolf den, and the woman she left behind. By day she is pursued by her former slave master. In order to be truly free, Amara will need to be as ruthless as he is. She knows she can draw strength from Venus, the goddess of love, yet falling in love herself may prove to be Amara's downfall. As I said, I loved The Wolf Den, so I think I'm going to love this just as much. At least I hope so. The penultimate book that I got is No One Is Talking About This by Patricia Lockwood. This is a story about a life lived in two halves. It's about what happens when real life collides with the increasing absurdity of a world accessed through a screen. It's about living in a world that contains both an abundance of proof that there is goodness, empathy, and justice in the universe, and a deluge of evidence to the contrary. It's a meditation on love, language, and human connection from one of the most original voices of our time. So again, this is a book that looks at like social media and the internet, and just like with Girl Crush, I think I'm gonna really enjoy some of the stuff that is looked at in this book. And finally, we have The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. When Rosemary Harper joins the crew of the Wayfarer, she isn't expecting much. The Wayfarer, a patched up ship that's seen better days, offers her everything she could possibly want. A small, quiet spot to call home for a while, adventure in far-off corners of the galaxy, and distance from her troubled past. But Rosemary gets more than she bargained for with the Wayfarer. The crew is a mishmash of species and personalities, from Sissix, the friendly reptilian pilot, to Kizzy and Jenks, the constantly sparring engineers who keep the ship running. Life on board is chaotic, but more or less peaceful, exactly what Rosemary wants. Until the crew are offered the job of a lifetime, the chance to build a hyperspace tunnel to a distant planet. They'll earn enough money to live comfortably for years, if they survive the long trip through war-torn space without endangering any of the fragile alliances that keep the galaxy peaceful. But Rosemary is the only person on board with secrets to hide, and the crew will soon discover that space may be vast, but spaceships are very small indeed. So I love books that are like science fiction-y and spacey, and this sounds both wholesome and action-packed, and I've heard really good things about Becky Chambers' writing, so I am very much looking forward to reading it. And that's it. That's all of the books that I got for my birthday. Hello, this is Future Liv coming to you live from my desk, same place as always. And I'm just editing the footage, and Wow, I really am awful when it comes to reading aloud. You might not be able to tell from the edited footage, but I did so many takes of certain sentences because I just could not get the words out. But also an update because there was one book that I was looking for in Waterstones Piccadilly, but they didn't have. And they also didn't have it in Waterstones Covent Garden when I went over and looked there. However, I went to London the other day to meet up with some friends, and I had a little bit of time beforehand, so I thought, why not just have a little look in Waterstones Trafalgar Square? And lo and behold, they had one copy left of YN by Esther Yee. And I've heard some good things about this book, and it sounds really interesting, and I really wanted to get it, and now I have it. Surreal, hilarious, and shrewdly poignant. A novel about a Korean-American woman living in Berlin whose obsession with a K-pop idol sends her to Seoul on a journey of literary self-destruction. It's as if her life only began once Moon appeared in it. The desultory copywriting work, the boyfriend, and the want of anything not Moon quickly fall away when she beholds the idol in concert, where Moon dances as if his movements are creating their own gravitational field. On live streams, as fans from around the world comment in dozens of languages, even on skincare products endorsed by the wildly popular Korean boy band, of which Moon is the youngest, most luminous member. Seized by ineffable desire, our unnamed narrator begins writing YN fanfic, in which you, the reader, insert your name and play out an intimate relationship with the unattainable star. Then Moon suddenly retires, vanishing from the public eye. As YN flies from Berlin to Seoul to be with Moon, our narrator too journeys to Korea in search of the object of her love. There, an escalating series of mistranslations and misidentifications lands her at the headquarters of the Kafka-esque entertainment company that manages the boy band until, at a secret location, together with Moon at last, art and real life approach their final convergence. It does sound really interesting, and I am super interested in the internet and fandom culture and stuff like that, so I think I'm going to really enjoy this book. So that was my update, and I'll hand you back over to Live in the Past to close the video. If you've read any of these books and loved them or hated them, leave your spoiler-free thoughts in the comments below. And you can follow me on Instagram or TikTok or the Storygraph, or at WithLivJones for more bookish content. I tend to review books on Storygraph as soon as I've finished reading them, so if you follow me on there, you will be the first to get my thoughts on what I've read. Thank you so much for watching. If you've got to the end, thank you. I appreciate your dedication. Please give me a like or a subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I would really appreciate it. And I will see you in the next one. Bye!